Welcome to Intentional Divorce Insights. I'm Leah Hadley, certified divorce financial analyst, accredited financial counselor, and the founder of Intentional Divorce Solutions. I'll be your guide through the complexities of divorce, finance, and emotional wellness. Join me as we uncover practical tips and empowering insights to help you navigate your divorce with clarity and intention. Welcome back to Intentional Divorce Insights. I am thrilled to welcome our guest today. This is Mardi Winder-Adams, who offers over 30 years of experience helping women navigate the challenges of high conflict and high asset divorces. Mardi is an ICF and BCC executive and leadership coach, credentialed distinguished mediator in Texas, and a certified divorce transition coach. She founded Positive Communication Systems and hosts the podcast, The D Shift, Redefining Divorce and Beyond, as well as Real Divorce Talks. Welcome, Mardi. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Leah, thank you so much for being here. It's really a privilege to be able to speak to you and to your listeners.
Well, I appreciate that. And for those who are listening, I had the opportunity to be on the D Shift podcast. So I'm going to include a link to that in the show notes so you can be sure to check that out. We had a wonderful conversation. And so I knew this was going to be a lot of fun for us to reconnect. But Mardi, tell us a little bit about what the Real Divorce Talks are.
Well, the Real Divorce Talks kind of came about, Leah, because I work with most of my clients are women that are in professional roles. A lot of them are trying to juggle being a mom, becoming a single mom through the divorce, dealing with their careers and dealing with all of the stuff that goes along with divorce, that like 1,000,001 decisions you have to make, and just feeling really overwhelmed. And so what I heard from them is that they love the idea of summits and events, but for these women for my clients, sitting down and listening to 8 hours of experts, it's too much. They don't have the time. And quite frankly, I've been through a divorce. You don't have the bandwidth to sit and listen. Right. You just really need to take the information that you need in short little pieces and integrate it into the big picture of the divorce. So that's the idea behind Real Divorce Talks. It's 3 presenters, and they speak for about 25 to 30 minutes each, 2 nights every quarter. So it's this month, it is February 27th and 28th, and it's from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So everybody can do their own calculations on that one. So it's just kind of short and sweet, and the people that are on are mostly women, but I do have some men come on, and I do have some men attend. But it is really geared to providing specific information for people going through pre-divorce, the contemplated state, all the way through to post-divorce decisions. Because unfortunately, the divorce doesn't end when you get that piece of paper. It can go on and on and on, especially if you got kids. There's going to be things you have to think about.
That's so true. And I love this concept and really meeting people where they're at and giving them an opportunity to get the education that they need. You know, we are all about intentional divorce here. And a big part of that is empowering yourself through education. So creating a space for people to get the education that they need to feel really empowered, but to do it in a time frame that's going to work for their schedules, knowing that people are busy and they're emotionally overwhelmed. I think that's wonderful.
Well, thank you. And, it's so interesting because trying to find the right time is almost impossible, because on the East Coast, if it's the right time, it's too early on the West Coast and vice versa. So I'm central, so we split the difference. But we do have people listen in from, I'm Canadian, I live in Texas. So there are people, I do work with clients in Canada. So there's people from Canada, there's people from, last time we had people from Australia, South Africa, Germany, and Spain, and the UK also listen in, because we're not providing legal advice, or we're not providing specific financial advice, as your presentation is going to talk about, but it really is just general information that's going to apply to anybody going through a divorce, no matter where you live or what legal system you're working under.
Yeah, and I'm excited for my presentation. So I'm going to be talking all about making your settlement last and really focusing on how to create long-term financial stability for yourself. And that is such an issue for so many people where there's a lot of fear around what this financial transition means for their life. So I'm excited about that, but I want to hear about some of the other presentations as well, Mardi.
Okay, well, like I said, there's six presenters in total, and this time it is all women, and so that's kind of interesting. Well, I'm going to say I think this is the fourth Real Divorce Talks. I think so. This is two where we've had all women panels, but the first presentation is going to be by Lori Sates, who is also known as the Zen Rabbit. She is just the most unique individual, and she's really going to talk about how to manage life transitions and how to deal with moving forward after challenges that occur in life. So it is more of a mindset, spirituality, kind of self-forgiveness discussion. Then the amazing Anne Greco is going to come on next. And Anne is a counselor. She's a counselor working with people, but she's going to talk specifically about stress management and resilience. And this can apply. This is an interesting topic because it's going to apply to both your divorce, but also if you're struggling maybe with stress in your professional role, or stress, between family members, or, just dealing with all the stress around the divorce. This is going to be really helpful, I think. And then rounding out the last speaker on the Tuesday, the 27th, is going to be Cheryl Whitelaw, and she is actually Canadian, and she is going to talk about the importance of kind attention to yourself. Her energy is so positive because let's face it, a lot of women in particular don't put self-care as a priority during the divorce, and then they end up getting burned out and getting sick and having to deal with all these things. Sure. So that's day one. Day two, we have Alyssa Johnson. She has a really unique story and a really unique program where she actually focuses on helping women do solo travel after divorce as a way to kind of self-discover yourself and get back into doing things that you really love and enjoy. And maybe you've put off for years because you've been raising kids, or you've been, it just hasn't worked for you. So she really helps women who haven't traveled a lot to take that first step and get out there. And she's going to give a ton of practical tips. And then we have Huda Bach. And Huda has been a friend of mine for several years. She is a personal brand consultant, and she is going to talk about how to create your own personal brand post-divorce. I know when I went through my divorce, there was things I changed, my haircut, I changed some of the things I enjoyed doing. I just wanted to be a different person. And so she talks about how it's not just the physical stuff, but it's also some mindset and internal stuff that we can shift to really become the person we want to be, the person we're destined to become. So it's a really positive and uplifting message. And then again, to wind up the last day, we have the amazing Leah Hadley, and you are going to talk about the long-term financial considerations when you're going through a divorce to avoid that fear, because that, I think, is what most people fear the most is, oh my gosh, how am I going to support myself and my kids?
It's just such a great lineup. I'm so excited to participate with these other presenters as well. It just sounds so positive and uplifting, which is what people really need when they're going through this difficult time.
Well, and that's what I love about this, because first of all, I don't have to really do anything except for just introduce people and sit back and listen. So I really enjoy that. But everybody that has participated, like I said, we did 3 of them last year, and we're doing there'll be 4 this year. Is everybody has walked away and said, I can't believe how much better I feel. Like, this doesn't seem so overwhelming. This doesn't seem so impossible. And this is strictly informational, and it is completely free. There's no cost to attend. There's going to be no sales, high pressure sales things. There's nothing like that. It's really to provide education for women or men who might want to attend and listen in.
Excellent. And it sounds like each quarter people can expect something different. So just because maybe they can't make it this quarter or something, they should definitely stay tuned for the next one. Is that fair?
Yeah, so it is. There's never the same speakers. They're always going to be generally around the topic of divorce, but the next one is going to be May 7th and 8th. And there is an opportunity. All of the previous events have been recorded, and so there is an opportunity to buy into that membership, and that way, and it's $47. It's not this huge crazy amount. It's $47, and then you get lifetime access to all the previous recordings, this session, and all future recordings. So it's a one-time $47 payment. if people want to make it, and if people have a really, I'm not against helping people out if they really can't financially afford to do the $47. I'm happy. Send me an email. We can talk about it. I'm more than happy to give people that if it's something that could be a resource, but they just can't afford it. Hey, let's all help each other out a little bit during this tough time.
That's beautiful. Yes, absolutely. So Marty, give us a little bit more about your story. How did you get into the work you're doing, and how do you support women through divorce now?
Well, I started out by waiting till I was in my 30s to get married. Thought I had done everything right. And about 5 years into the relationship, found out I hadn't. It wasn't the relationship that I wanted it to be. And there's no blame assigned here. There was things I could have done better. There's things I'm sure he could have done better. It just didn't work. So went through a divorce that was not a pleasant experience. Let's just put it that way. And I had, a very good attorney, so I can't complain about that. But I didn't really have anywhere to turn. And I think some of the things that I did in the divorce probably complicated things. I think I made snap decisions. I think I certainly did not consult anybody like yourself about, long-term future implications of what to do with divorce funds and all that kind of stuff. So after that, I went and working in a school district. I was also a mediator in Canada, working with couples, with divorcing couples. So I started to see that there's this pattern. Like, it wasn't just me. It's a lot of people going through the divorce have these challenges. Sure. Moved down here to the States, started doing more mediation work down here, became a co-parenting educator. So educating parents pre-divorce about some of the co-parenting expectations. Most states in the United States have this 4-hour mandatory course. So I was one of the trainers for that.
Okay.
And I started thinking, a lot of people don't understand that what they're doing is actually making their divorce more difficult. Holding grudges, bringing up things from the past. We all do it. Like I said, I was guilty of it myself. And then between that and the mediation and the coaching, I started seeing this sort of like Venn diagram thing going, where there was this central overlap where people's professional lives, their divorce, their ability to communicate with other people, their ability to handle life, it all kind of converged in one area. And I thought, I need to start coaching to that specific thing. And so the nice thing about coaching is, as you know, you don't tell anybody what to do. You just let people explore and then help them to choose what they think is best for them. So that's where all of this came together. And my role as a coach, I see, is just to be that support person. I like to call myself almost your divorce concierge. So whatever you need, I'm going to help you figure out what resources you need, what professionals you need. I'm there to provide, if you want some suggestions, I'm there to provide them. And then we can talk about them and see which one works best for you. But again, it's just that sense of not feeling overwhelmed. So I like to say going from chaos to empowerment through the divorce coaching transition.
Oh, that's excellent. Chaos to empowerment. I love that. So our focus here at Intentional Divorce Insights is all about having an intentional divorce and what that means. So when you look back on your own divorce, what would you have done differently to maybe make it less reactive and more intentional?
Honestly, Leah, I would have started right back from when I first started talking about the divorce with my partner, because I didn't do it well. I know that now. I know I didn't do it well because it came out in anger. It came out in a kind of an ultimatum. And, that's on me, definitely on me. And I think the other thing that I did, I already said I did not have a financial advisor or a person that actually understood what was going on. And my divorce was almost 30 years ago. So I'm not even sure your exact title even existed at that point in time. But I think if I'd have gone and spoke to somebody like a CPA or, a certified financial analyst or something, I think I would have made better financial decisions. I was okay. And there were no children in the relationship. So it was a relatively easy divorce. There was like no alimony. It was just divide the property. And thankfully there wasn't a lot of debt either. So it was a fairly easy divorce. The emotional stuff was more difficult. So I would have I would have reached out. I think I would have found, because there wasn't divorce coaches either, but I would have found a mentor. Maybe I would have, spoken to somebody. I did what I think a lot of professional women did. I just tried to pretend I can totally separate my professional life from my personal life. Nobody's going to figure out I'm dealing with all this stress, and I'm just going to put my head down and just work through it. And I couldn't. It came out at work. I know I wasn't as productive at work. Right. And, there's lots of studies now that say up to 40% loss in productivity when you're going through a divorce. And if you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, that's a big hit to take. So I think being more intentional in getting the professionals and not just hiring a lawyer and thinking that's what I needed. And I think most women do, and most men do too, just assume that the lawyer is the only person. They're important, but they're not necessarily the only person. So I think those things, the planning out how I was going to have the conversation, thinking about how I was going to deal with my emotions during the divorce, and also getting the right professional team would have been a more intentional way to approach that.
Those are so many good points there, Marty. And I'll tell you, I for my own divorce, when I was planning out the conversation, that is something I spent time on. And especially when we told the children that we were getting divorced, but I didn't plan anything after that. It was like one of those things that I put all this time and energy into being really thoughtful in that one piece, but then it kind of fell apart after that. And I can see, if I look back now, if I had been more intentional after that conversation, we could have avoided a lot of, anger, and just, it would have been a more seamless process, quite frankly. I mean, I think you're exactly right. We often do it to ourselves in making it more difficult than it has to be.
Well, and I think the other thing, Leah, in all honesty, if you've never been through a divorce before, you don't really know what to expect. Sure. People don't really sit down and talk about, okay, you don't go from, like, it doesn't happen overnight, and you may be 8 months before you're ever going to even, get into the mediation, if that's the route that you're able to go. And if you're not able to go mediation, especially with all the backlogs that are still in some of the big, the big centers are still dealing with family court backlogs from COVID when they weren't hearing anything. So, you may be looking at 12 to 18 months if you've got to go through litigation. And there's that whole time where you're just sitting there like with this, like kind of Charlie Brown and Linus with those big black clouds hanging over their heads when they're sad, you just don't, it's just there. It's so present. You don't realize what a huge impact it has on your life.
Absolutely. So many good points that you're making, Marty. I really appreciate your time and wisdom. Tell us, how can we get registered for the Real Divorce Talks?
It's real simple. Just go to realdivorcetalks.com. And I think you have to put the www in front of it. I know some websites you don't, some you do. I think with this one you do. But just go there, and you're going to start seeing it showing up on Facebook and LinkedIn. There's a pretty active marketing campaign, or advertising campaign, I should say, just to get the word out that it's there. And if you know somebody who is going through a divorce, maybe just mention to them, because the more the merrier. And like I say, it's no cost. So if it would be of value, we would love to have you come. And I am going to be so excited to hear your talk, Leah. I'm going to be taking notes while you're talking. I know that.
I appreciate that. And I will say, Marty made a good point to let other people know. You might want to let other people know who you have no idea if they're even considering divorce. So many people I've worked with over the years consider going through a divorce for years before they actually pull the trigger. And having this good information in advance is so helpful in really being able to be more intentional in your decision making once you do decide to start the process. So this is just such a wonderful resource. And I can't get over the fact that you can get all the recordings from all the sessions for, every time she does it for just $47. So you may want to check that out as well. I think that's a fantastic resource for people to take advantage of. And I will put the links in the show notes so you can also easily access everything there. Thank you again, Marty, for joining us today.
Oh, Leah, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for joining me on Intentional Divorce Insights. It's a privilege to share this time with you. I hope each episode offers valuable guidance to navigate your journey. If you find our content helpful, please leave a review to help others discover the benefits of intentional decision-making in divorce. Until next time, take care and continue to embrace your path with intention.